the stuff that we've started building, can you believe it? We do not have an input? Right now, everything is an output, and quite frankly, everything's running off of time and my self-hosted database, kind of like everybody else. Am I having a nerd moment where I'm realizing that hosting your own database is kind of weird? If you're hosting a database in your home, I'd like to know. Go ahead and post it in the comment section down below what you're using and what you're using it for. Now the question is, why go through all of this time and trouble and hassle for just basically a temperature sensor that I could buy on Amazon for about $25? Well, the answer to that is that this thing can't feed data into my database, and this thing also is not rugged. It's not rugged at all. This is not designed for industrial applications. Now, to be fair, there are other options, and there are things that could probably track your weather and probably put something into your database too, but let's just be honest here. Of course I'm gonna build it. Now the question is, what all is going on inside of this thing? Well, let's take a little bit of a peek under the hood. Not to get into too deep of detail here, but basically the entire thing kind of has a wall right here that splits between the power supplies and the RTD sensor, and basically this side here, which is going to be the Arduino Uno R4 and the LoRa over here as well. So this is kind of basics of what's going on. So before we get into any sort of major programming, I just want to make sure that this thing works for measuring the temperature, which is basically what it's supposed to do. So with that said, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and upload this really basic, Arduino sketch where I'm printing the value that's on analog 0, which is where this analog input is being put onto. Let's go ahead and upload this and see what happens. Now we can go ahead and look at the serial monitor, and that's not what we want to see. We'll be right back. Okay, so I changed a couple wires on there to see if it kind of moved. I moved the ground from being on the Arduino to now being onto the 24 volts, ground area, so that there's a ground crossing the two power supplies. Let's see if that works. Oof. Okay, let's just technical difficulties. So overall, I've tried troubleshooting this thing in multiple different ways, and as you can see here, this thing continues to oscillate up and down, going from the maximum 1023 and going all the way down to 0. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm pretty sure that this particular blue transmitter, there's something wrong with it at this point in time. So quite frankly, I'm gonna have to ditch this thing, which means that I'm gonna have to order another component, and I guess it's gonna be a whole week before I can actually do this. So for you though, that's gonna be just basically me going like this and going like this. Now, as you can see here, I have a brand new temperature sensor, and this one is going to be over the I²C bus. This is a 5 volts tolerant sensor, and quite frankly, I would rather just do this because this is going to be so much easier than having to do the whole analog read. I just get the temperature right from this. All right, with 4 screws now tightened up at the I²C, we are ready to upload our first sketch and to see if this thing reports back a temperature. So I've got a sketch here loaded up that's just gonna basically go over whatever temperature it is in here and just print it to the serial monitor. And of course, yes, it's going to be in Fahrenheit, freedom height, and we'll be able to see what that looks like. So let's go ahead and flip over to the serial monitor, and there we go. Boom. It is indeed 74.3 in here right now. And so we now have accurate temperature and humidity data coming back. Boom. We've got one more modification that we need to make, and that is to the Great Fox, or the LoRa controller up here in the back. And the idea is going to be to add a second LoRa unit so that we have both incoming and outgoing being on 2 different particular networks. And that way we can multitask incoming data with outgoing data. Let's get to coding. 10 hours later. So it turns out that these particular LoRa modules, as convenient as they are, do have some restrictions to them. This one particularly, all it allows you to do is basically be at 915 megahertz, and you can't change that with AT commands. Now, I could download the proprietary software to configure these, but once again, you can't change these on the fly. This was a big, basically, kick to the shorts because I had planned on using the dual architecture that I had talked about when I was putting these up a little bit ago. So I wanted it to be where this one particularly right here would have been my TX, right? So it would have been just sending data out to everybody. It wouldn't have had anything to do with receiving anything. And then I was going to have this bottom one be my RX, and it would just be receiving stuff and then it would hand it off. Well, that doesn't work because when you go to the Arduino and on board here, that means that it needs to change between this one, which would have been 915 megahertz, and this one, which would have been 916 megahertz. Well, if the Arduino can't change on the fly, this whole thing is just a big waste of time. All of this fine written code that could just have been doing something, all's just gonna be deleted. Yeah, right. You know you never delete code. In the next episode of Struct Build, we rip out that Arduino Uno R4 and put an industrial Arduino in its place. So if you want to find out what happens next, like and subscribe, and God bless, and we'll see you next time.